Simon in Orpington. Hello, Simon.
Hello, Clive. Hope you're well, mate.
Hi.
I think the government has got, we've got two different groups in the country. Those who want the lockdown to be eased and go back to work, and those who are actually fearful of going back to work. I think those who don't want the lockdown to end is greater in number, but I suspect those people are the ones who are on 80% pay and doing okay and have a garden. I shouldn't think those who are stuck in a high-rise block apartment with 3 children and abusive husbands, I shouldn't think they're hoping the lockdown will end.
I'm sure.
I think on Sunday...
But it shouldn't really be done on that basis of how you personally feel. It should be about what is for the greater good.
Well, absolutely. But what I'm saying is I don't think those people have been taken into consideration. I don't think the wider economy has been taken into consideration. All we ever hear from is the chief medical officers. And I understand they have an important job to do, but it's the economists who will predict what's going to happen to an economy, and that then can lead on to deaths and poverty. King's College London were talking about 500 million people worldwide being forced into poverty because of this global recession which has been created. It was a conscious decision to shut down 1/3 of the economy, and we've never heard from those. I do think, though, on Sunday, I think that the route the government is going to take is more to actually start coaxing people out from home. Because as I say, if they went for a total release of it, it will be too unpopular. But if you think about it, the message has been so strong in terms of stay at home, save lives. Well, come Monday, nothing's actually going to be able to change. So if you still got that in your head, I need to stay at home to save lives, it'll be quite difficult to then suddenly go about your business as normal. And that's what I think the issue is going forward, is that people are fearful, I think unjustifiably so. It's not affecting, for most of us, we're not affected by this
but the problem is you don't know what in practice will happen is there will be a middle way, which there has to be, which will be a gradual easement and with small steps, and you see what happens. That's what's going to happen. If it simply was flicking a switch and everybody was back in the rush hour and London was back to normal, then the worry would be that London would go back to where London was a month ago, with thousands and thousands of cases and many, many deaths, hospitals looking like they were overwhelmed, and it was rife in London. And it isn't now. And so you've got to be just careful that you don't go back to that and start it up all over again, because then the whole thing will have been pointless.
Well, I don't think it has. I agree with that. But the NHS has never been overwhelmed. We've got our Nightingales set up, and they haven't been used. Thankfully so.
But that's good.
Absolutely. So as I said, thankfully so. But the lockdown was sold to us on that premise that we had to alleviate the pressure on the NHS. The talk of adequate supply of PPE, that was brought in later, and I don't really think people should be prevented from running their businesses and being forced into the ground because the government can't get its act together.
Are you being prevented from running a business?
PPE.
Are you being prevented from Yes. I'm asking.
Is that a serious question, Clive?
Well, I'm just asking you whether you are.
I apologise then. Yeah. I'm not being prevented, no, but I've been in a position where I've been in a bit before. I'm just saying, I'm speaking from experience of being skint and knowing what it's like and knowing how you're going to make it day to day. And
sure.
Many people.
But that's happening all over the world. It's not just our government. This is all over the world. Economies are going to be in trouble. It's not peculiar to have taken this decision. Governments have put lives in front of business.
But that's what I'm saying. When have you discussed the long-term effect of 500 million people worldwide being forced into poverty? And I'm talking genuine
numerous
poverty,
times,
where people can't live, people can't afford their next meal. Have you really heard that, Clive? Have you heard that at the press conferences?
No, because the press conferences are not about that particularly. I mean, Rishi Sunak has talked a bit about that.
Well, fair enough.
I don't disagree with you.
LBC and the media, an awful lot, probably too much, Clive. I rarely, if ever, hear it. It's something that people have sent to me.
Well, I certainly have done.
The research. It's not taken into consideration.
I have talked a lot about the economy and business almost every week. And you're right, of course, it's vital, and people will lose their lives because of it as well, and there will be widespread poverty, and that is why at the back of the mind of the government at the moment, and it's going to become more and more to the forefront. I think the economy will become the debate. It's not at the moment, but it definitely will be, and it's absolutely important. I do agree with you, Simon, but it's not going to be a flick of a switch. It is going to be gradual. But let's wait until tomorrow and see whether Boris Johnson fires that starting gun. Thank you very much, Simon. Michael in Welling. Hello, Michael.
Hello, good evening.
Evening. What would you like to say?
Well, I'd just like to say a few points. Firstly, I think your discussion about should the lockdown be ended is totally wrong terminology. Everyone knows the lockdown.
Well, that isn't what I asked. That isn't what I asked.
That's only what you've been using. It's not going to be ended. We know that. It's going to be eased.
I have not. I've deliberately not said that, Michael. If we're talking about terminology, I've talked about easing the lockdown.
Well, I think with some people you've asked them should it be ended, and absolutely not. And
well, I have asked them that because they have had that opinion.
The politician who was on before from the Labour Party, we all know this is going to be a step-by-step process. And the reality is the Nightingale Hospital has now been mothballed. The R rate has come down, albeit we don't know what the R rate is because the government won't publish it. And there's questions as to why not. And it's time to get the country back to work. You cannot furlough people indefinitely. And the reality is that many people are being paid 85% of their salary to sit at home. And if they had their choice, probably many would like to sit at home indefinitely. You had someone on the radio earlier saying he likes to go out walking at night when there's less people. There is such a fear out there, unnecessary. The science is quite clear. The virus is virtually impossible, if at all catchable, outside. Hence why they're looking at opening up bars, restaurants, other places.
Not true. The science isn't quite clear.
No,
it's
it is
not
quite
true.
clear.
It's not. It's not, Michael. No, you're absolutely wrong. It's less likely to be picked up outside. It thrives much less outside, but there is no clear science that you cannot catch it outside.
Then why
That's
would
absolute
they look to
nonsense,
start opening
Michael.
open spaces and let us go outside?
Well, I just told you, because you're less likely to catch it than inside.
No, absolutely not true.
I'm sorry, Michael, but it is true, and you're at odds with all the leading medical experts and all of those people who are wheeled out. Do you think they really would be if there was no evidence that anybody ever caught it outside and the science was absolutely clear? Do you think they'd be telling you to stay 2 metres away? I don't think they would. There's a high price to pay, and they wouldn't be doing it unless there was some sense behind it. Michael, thank you. More